And so the talk today is called the kindness paradox. Because when you look at kindness in a very traditional way, you look at I've helped somebody. Right? I am shattering that myth for you today because that is not sustainable. I can't keep on helping people and feeling drained inside. So what is that discovery that we made? And I'm going to talk to you about a research. And so this is not coming just from my own story. It's coming from a research that we did. And the next slide will show you where I am today. In fact, the teachers in school don't really, recognize me because they just wonder what happened to me. What has happened to this quiet child who suddenly become, all out there? What's happened to this kind of person? And so I raised to you a question, you Gen Z, who's my audience today, right? Who you keep asking this question because I work with you practically full time these days. And the question you keep asking is, how do I disconnect and care for others without disconnect? And this is a question because Gen Z knows when I disconnect, I can look after myself. But how do I connect with others and look after myself? This is something that we're going to explore a little more in today's conversation. You, my friends, are the most emotionally aware generation. You amaze me. You are so very out there. You speak about therapy, you speak openly, you share openly. But let me tell you one thing, you are the most overwhelmed, the loneliest, and the most anxious generation we've ever witnessed. Now this, my friends, is the paradox. This is something that we all need to be concerned about. And I speak specifically to you Gen Zs about the challenge. We're living in scary times. We're living in a world that you and I don't know where we are headed. And yet we've got to answer the question. This is something I will give you dialogues of what I hear, versions of this. So someone comes and tells me, ma'am, and this is only when I have made a connection with the youth, okay? This doesn't happen with the youth I've not made a connection with. I need to make that connect. I need to have coffee with you. I need to spend time with you and know the real you for you to say this to me. And what you say to me is, I don't want to be trouble to anybody anymore. You also say, hey, ma'am, I've got so many friends. Yeah, plenty. I don't have one person I can talk to. And this is not something that I say because of. This is something that we must take cognizance about. There are a lot of people I know who will say, what is this? My generation would say, they seem to have it all. Right? Because my generation went into this whole selflessness piece, and now we're getting into the selfishness piece. And the point I'm about to make is they're both not sustainable. Right? Is there a mid-path? And that's what we were trying to seek. Is there a mid-path? Because selfishness and selflessness are not, polarities. There is that magical mid-path between both. How about going and seeing this me care versus yes, us care? How do we really get over there? And so this was a very big question and this was a dilemma. My friend, this is a paradox, but it's a very modern dilemma. And this dilemma is something that we went out to address. And we kind of stepped out wanting to go to colleges and finding, is there a solution to this dilemma? So when we kind of went and we realized that me care is not enough, and we asked people, what do you really do? And Gen Z will tell you, all of you will tell me, oh, therapy is cool, meditation is cool, I have boundaries, I sleep, I do journaling. My dear friends, they are all very, very important. I'm not taking away from that. And they are all very necessary. But you can feel absolutely alone while doing all this. And now, if that's the case, then we have to explore and find out again, how do we build connection? Because connection is something that this world of artificial intelligence and where we are going, I have no idea, is something that we still need. Because technology, I don't know whether you are aware of, can change in one single generation. In my own lifetime, I've seen so much of development in the technological world. But I want us to all pause that biology sometimes takes multiple generations to adapt. And in between, we are in this chaos between tech and biology. So the research we were about to unfold, and what we saw was this was not something, what we were saying is how does humanity, how does psychology, how does biology, how do all these three come together? This is not about charity, my friends, and this is not about moral goodness. This is about keeping us grounded and keeping us having a sense of health. And so, the aha moment and the paradox of kindness was when we took 115 undergrad youths from St. Andrews College, some of you might be here today, and from Sapphire College. And we followed them with a program, right? That was, fortunately for us, led by two senior Tata Institute faculty. So Kindness Unlimited partnered with two faculty from the Tata Institute, and they created this robust research for 6 months. We followed 115 youth and took them through a structured program with intentional design, with trained mentors, with spaces for reflection. So this was not your normal volunteering. This involved a lot of reflection with trained mentors, and we tried to see how do we provide a space where students, youth, do not have to be strong alone. We are all alone together, my friends. It's such a paradox. And we can't be strong alone. So where is that space where we can be strong together? And that was something I was exploring based on my own childhood, my own years in the social sector, my own years in the corporate world, my own learning of what happened to me was something that kept buzzing in my head. There must be something more that we need to test. So can caring for others, now this is counterintuitive, right? Can caring for others make me have some amount of self-care and improve the me? It was a resounding, paradigm shifting yes. That caring for others makes you kinder to yourself. It's just all the research. We have quantitative data, we also have a lot of qualitative data, because this was when you actually talk to people that you really get the emotions and the stories. All the data pointed to the fact that those of us who care for others will tend to care for ourselves. And this is something that a lot of young people, my friends, have to understand. This little tightrope balance that we are into, right? There's one side there's me, and one side there's us. Is there, a kind, these kids in the fair, they're holding that little stick before going to selfish or selfless. How do you and I have that? And nobody is saying do not take care of yourself. So do not misunderstand me. Taking care of yourself is vital, because unless you take care of yourself, you do not have the resilience to take care of others. I see kids and I'm surprised that if they see someone holding a heavy bag, they'll automatically go and help. Right? They will help someone, a neighbor with groceries. If they see another overwhelmed kid, they go and find out what's wrong. If they see somebody who's struggling with something, each of us have a gift, my friends. I might be good in Excel, you might be good in statistics, you might be good in photography, and Nathan's very good in stand-up comedy. We all have our gifts. The question is, how does volunteering help us explore our gift? I am not saying give what you don't have. That's not sustainable, right? I don't have money. How do you expect me to give you any money, right? I may have time, I might have resources, I might have a knowledge of mathematics, and I might have photography. Can I go and offer that gift to somebody who's looking for that very skill? And this we found, offering diverse perspectives to students at a very young age, help them explore their gift, help them, to all of you today at TED, a big round, a big cheer. Why do I say that? Because you have volunteered. You immediately fit into the framework of what I am sharing today. And volunteering has curveballs. Overnight they're thrown at you. There's a monsoon and your food hasn't arrived, the menu has changed, the budget is not enough. A mom says, you can't go. There are 100 things that happen to anybody who volunteers. But this is the thing, right? When you kind of look after yourself and you are able to look after someone else, there's some magical thing that happens to the young person. Because he or she realizes that I have to keep my good grades. No one comes to college for the grades to fall. So let's not fool ourselves about it. But if you are a young person who can keep your grades and still find the time to go out and do something, you are a superstar for anyone who's recruited. Because you'll ask me about maths and stats and whatever artificial intelligence we're all hungry to go and learn, I'll pass all that. But after that, when you ask me about what did you really do in life, and a person who volunteers comes with a real world problem, and having found this micro solution to a real problem, that's the kind of person you want in your office or factory or software. Because that person understands how to solve and be part of the solution. And there is, my friends, a limitation sitting behind the screen. As much as you are the first generation who was socialized and in a world in front of a screen. You are the first generation. And I tell my generation, we cannot judge them because they were born into the situation. We can only help our youth understand that there are both sides to this. Okay? And when I say this, I say that how do I know about the part of us in shaping the well-being of me? This was the research, and the topic was, if you want to look at the official topic, it's insights from a study on the impact of volunteering and the mental well-being of college-going students in the city of Mumbai. The city of Mumbai is a great city to do it because you have people from all cohorts, all levels, all geographies, all religions, and I thought we had a real good mix of students. So the power of us in shaping the well-being of me, and I repeat that because that is so critical. But at the same time, when we look at sustainable kindness, right? And when we look at sustainable kindness as what's the definition of sustainable kindness? Every time you feel that kindness energizes, it refills you, you know you're on the right track. You cannot have burnout, my friends. When you have burnout and you're tired, stop, look after yourself. Right? Because that's critical. But to sustain it, you know, oh man, I went for a medical clowning activity and I kind of, you know, that is, no, I'm not in this, but we had such fun because we were going to actually add joy to a group that require that joy. It could be a hospital, it could be a school of underserved, but we had to feel that joy, we had to transmit joy. I cannot transmit joy unless I feel it myself, and any kindness to be sustainable, it's not sacrifice. You know, they're old, whatever was a Nirupa Roy, whatever, in Hindi movies, right? It's not about that sacrifice. It's about something that energizes me, and so it needs to be refilled. And when I care for others and I care for myself, do I find the balance that I need? And this is the self-awareness that some of our kids in the program had. They develop their self-worth by having self-awareness. So when I actually look at the research impact now, right, what was it that came out? Empathy grew, which is not very surprising. Teamwork grew. Leadership. I have kids here who are leading, and all of them really say that they picked up leadership because when you can lead in a social space which has so many challenges, you make an automatically great leader. So there was communication. A lot of kids do not know how to talk to a stranger. Believe me. And when we do a Seva Sandwich initiative, for example, and have to actually go and give out a sandwich, it's not easy. There's social anxiety. There's a bit of, nervousness. There's a bit of, vulnerability. Because we have been brought up behind a screen, and I'm making a great world-class campaign. Everybody wants to volunteer online. And I push people on the streets under the hot sun. It's not so easy. I have to gently create, let's dance a bit and let's, do something cool and sing so that, we get the energy to want to go out. Volunteering cannot be boring. I learned that. So, you've got to bring what you'd like into the program. And that makes a huge difference. Volunteering is developmental, and this is where I head out to anybody who's listening, whether it's universities, parents, other stakeholders who are invested in young people. It cannot be optional. The National Education Policy is a great policy talking about holistic development of youth, but I like volunteering. If it was in my wish list, I'd like it to be compulsory and not optional. But there has to be an optimum amount of time. You can't have enormous amount of time spent in this because you are a stressed generation because of academic pressures. Let's not take it away. And you've come to college to perform and to do well. right? Along with that, you won't believe a 30-hour framework, and we saw fantastic results, just 30 hours. And so I kind of say, if you go a 30-hour framework with great mentors, intentional design, have peer support systems in place, you can, and of course, physical space for reflection, because unless colleges give us that space, where do we sit down and do a cool circle and create reflection, right? So, the student-led coordination models, you won't believe, I still struggle with explaining to colleges, give the student the leadership. Let them come and report to you and take your permission, but let them lead. They have the pulse of their team. They really know what their teams look like, right? And since you also brought up in a digital world, I'll give you an example. I organize treks sometimes. We just chill, we go for a nature trek. And you will be surprised that parents have a problem in the trek. And the same parent is very hands-off when it comes to your digital life. Agree? Yeah, and it's an irony, right? That the digital world is unchecked, but if you tell a parent trek, oh my God, it's like the physical world. Is my child going to be safe? This is again an ironical thing that we are facing. We are becoming all very helicopter in our view of how this generation should grow up. What's the resolution and the suggestion for universities that this research put out, right? Train mentors, essential syllabus, optimum amount of hours, structured, aligning with NEP, support systems in place, and a student-led thing. And I think if we do that, we have a huge challenge. We are the largest youth population in the entire world, India. What a responsibility, man. I don't want to get into the figures. They're mind-boggling at the number of youth we have in the country today. We have an opportunity to build and start a pandemic, right? Because the doing good can be contagious. It's about reaching that tipping point where you have many people who stand up and help one another. And it can be contagious. How do we in India show the world that we can balance this care for others and care for us, and create this dynamic for the world to see? I'm hopeful that if volunteering is a compulsory program in our colleges, and the reason I say colleges because it's easy to do, it's easy to scale up. As a platform for the country as a whole, I'm absolutely committed to this idea, having seen the developmental part of a very structured program, right? And so, to the end, I'd like all of us to repeat. So, care for us, care for me, care for us, care for me. They all kind of go together. There is no question of care for me and not caring for you. It's sustainable when we can balance this. And my friends, this whole thing of sustainability comes back to my favorite line. The line says it takes a village to raise a child, but I changed it to takes a village to raise us all. Because we are all connected in this ecosystem. The young, the old, the middle. We're all struggling in our own bubbles, and each of us reached out to one another and started this pandemic. India has a potential. We are a seva-driven country. We like community work. It's about putting it out there unabashedly and making it cool to be kind. Thank you very much.